Hello and welcome to our new webinar. We're just going to wait a little bit, awaiting all the attendees who will follow this webinar. Just some seconds, awaiting them. So let's start, I think. Hello and welcome to the webinar offered by DIY International, the webinar about our new report, the new home improvement report. My name is Rainer Stirnert. I'm the managing editor of DIY International and of the German trade magazine DIY Fachmagazin, based in Germany. Since 2023, DIY International is working very closely together with EDRA-GIN and HIMA, the European associations. And we are working together to bring out a comprehensive overview and statistical description of the whole home improvement market worldwide. Today we are presenting already the third edition of the home improvement report. My colleague Michael Greiner, together with the research team of DIY International, is the responsible editor of this report. As a journalist, he has been closely involved with the DIY sector for almost 10 years, compiling statistical data and on this industry. Because we as DIY International, and that's Däne Verlag, is the name of our company, we believe that it is quite essential for decision makers to have access to data that is as reliable as possible. And we are investing, believe me, a lot of effort in this project together with our partners. And to be clear about this point, without the support of EDRA-GIN and HIMA, and particularly without the support of the members of EDRA-GIN and HIMA, such a detailed report wouldn't be possible. So thanks for this support. Just a few notes in advance before we are going to start. Just a few notes that will help you to profit from this webinar. You will get later an email that will take you to this webinar's web page. And there you will find three links. One will lead you to the video, and so you can watch the webinar again if you want. Second link will go to the download of Michael's presentation that will be available for you. And if you want to purchase the report, of course, you will also find a possibility there. So please have in mind when it comes to purchasing the report, please have in mind, if you are a manufacturer and a member of one of the associations of the European Manufacturers Association, within the HIMA network, please get back to your national association. And if you are a retailer, please get back to EDRA-GIN. So I'll pass over to Michael, who will show us the latest findings of this report. Michael, it's up to you.
Yeah, thank you very much to everybody for your time and for sharing some of your maybe questions later about our product, the Home Improvement Report and the Home Improvement Retailers Data Folder. And thank you very much, Rainer, for the nice introduction. I will directly jump into the presentation. I hope in a few seconds you will see my screen. Yeah, these are the two products that we are publishing. The one on the left is the Home Improvement Report, Retail Worldwide, now in the edition of 2025. As Rainer has already mentioned, I will just repeat it because it's really important to us that we are working closely together to conduct this data research and the statistical analysis together with the international retailer and manufacturers associations. And on the right side, you see the data folder, just that you have seen it once and you know what I will be speaking about. The agenda for my webinar is going to be, the first thing, I will explain to you the working method that we use so that you have a understanding where the data comes from. And then you will get a short overview about the world market development in the home improvement and DIY industry. And then in a third part, I will explain to you the working method we use to survey the unknown part of the international market, because that's something quite unique for the report, that we split up between what we know about the market in valuable figures and what we have to estimate. And then on the fourth part, I will speak about the improvements that we made in this edition of the report. And then for you also, you will get some sample pages that you know what you would purchase if you want to buy the report. And also you will get some data insight into the German market and one of the main retailer groups worldwide. And then I will speak shortly about the benefits of the data folder that we're also publishing. Yeah.
Let me just, Michael, let me just add one thing. You can, of course, ask your questions afterwards by using the question and answers button that you'll find in your browser. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. At best, you write it down in the question and answer section in the Teams. In Teams, and then afterwards at the end there will be plenty of time that we will answer any questions. And yeah, to start, here on the left you see the home improvement data folder. We call it the home improvement retailers just worldwide. Yeah, plain and simple. What's in it? It's a database with 670 distribution lines in 101 countries worldwide. So this is the basis for all of our work. In it, you have the information about the number of stores, the turnover figures, the sales area, and additional information about all of these distribution lines. This is a quite unique database worldwide. And then in the second part, after we and my colleague collect all this data worldwide every year, and we've been building up this database now for more than 20 years. We use all of these data to do the statistical analysis, which you can read afterward, which you can then read in the report. So this is the way it works. We first have the data folder, and based on it, we have done the statistical analysis. But this is why we are always speaking about both products, because they are deeply interconnected and in a way belong to each other. Inside of the home improvement report, we are conducting the data for 632 distribution lines worldwide. The reason why there's a gap is because not all of the distribution lines we have in the data folder also fit the requirements for being part of the home improvement market worldwide as we see it. But in the report, then we use this data to put together figures about the world market, the national market, and the top retailer groups worldwide. You will see it afterwards in the webinar what I'm speaking about. And to give you also an idea about how reliable the figures are, we take a lot of effort into separating every single figure we use for the statistical analysis to differentiate between the sources. And there we have the most reliable source at the top, which is what we call company information. Short form is CI. This means where we collect information directly from annual reports, from press releases directly from the companies, or fortunately directly also from the eDrive members being sent to us. Second, as a source, we have our own estimations. I will explain it later, what's the basis for it, but this is also one of the sources. And then we have press. Press for us means that we cannot really follow the path back directly to the company where the information is coming from. That's why we are putting it separately from company information. And then at the fourth part, we have information from national bureaus of statistics. Mainly in China, this is the case, where we don't have the information so far for all the different distribution lines. And at this, a short side note, the report is really valuable for you in one way. For all the country pages where the different distribution lines are published, you see for every figure, whether it's the stores number or the turnover or the sales area, what's the source for the information. So you can decide for yourself how valuable or how reliable the figures are. Altogether, we have 632 distribution lines, as I already mentioned. Out of this 632, we have the figures for all of them for the stores, and we have it from 94% of the time based on a company information level, so really reliable. For 514 distribution lines, we have the sales figures, and for 39, a little bit more than 39%, we have the information directly from the company, or as we call it, CI. And for the sales area, we have it for 51% directly from the company, and we have 463 figures for sales area for the different distribution lines worldwide. Side note, and also important, just that you know it. For example, freely accessible information on databases where we cannot really follow it back to the company. So when it's not specifically mentioned what's the source, we also rate this information as own estimate or press and not CI. For many, maybe this would not be necessary. For us, we do it like this because we really cannot follow it. If we would also include this information into CI category, we would end up around something close to 50% of all of the sales figures are directly from the company in the report. And also important that you understand our own estimations are only being done from our side when we have a reliable figure in the time period between 2019 and 2024. Otherwise, we are not doing any own estimations. So there's no wild guessing around. Also, if we're doing own estimations, it's always based on a reliable figure as a starting point. Going on now to the first chart. On the left side, you see the development of the home improvement market worldwide between 2019 and 2024. I have to stress out at this point that all of this information is being based on the different distribution lines and their turnover worldwide. Yeah, so this is quite reliable. You have it also then on the right chart split up in the different world regions. And what you can see is on a world scale, on the right side of the right chart, we had on euro basis, we had a decline in the market of minus 1.9% in 2024. We had a growth in North America of 1.6%, We had a growth as well in nominal terms in Europe by 1.2%, and we had a sharp decrease in turnover in the region of Asia Pacific. The reason for it is that the Chinese home improvement market has shrunk dramatically in 2024. If you would exclude China for 2024, we would end up with a worldwide growth of plus 1.5%. But one has to stress out, this doesn't make really that much sense, because in 2023, it was the other way around, and China was preserving the rest of the world from decreasing even more than it did in 2023. And so for sure, you still have to use China as a also part of the world market for 2024, but just for you as a background information. Also, if one would only use the 174 company information values we have for the turnover for the home improvement market in 2024, we would end up with a increase of 1.5%. Next chart. Slightly better than the home improvement market was the DIY market, as we call it. I will explain it later, what's the difference. And the DIY market increased by 0.7% worldwide in 2024. And the reason was here as well that China was not pushing it down, and that's why it was slightly better. But if you look at it, for example, for North America or for Europe, it was nearly as good, even slightly less good than compared to the home improvement market, but it was in the same area. So here we have for the DIY market in North America and in Europe an increase of 1.0%. And we had a slow decrease in the region of Asia Pacific by 0.4%. And for the other regions, Latin America, 0.4% as well. And for Africa and Middle East, a decrease of 1.5%. Again, keep in mind that all these figures are based on the figures for real retailers figures. So they are reliable and not any calculations. Here you see now the market development for the home improvement industry for the 10 biggest national markets. On the left, you see the United States with an increase in nominal terms by 1.5%. And directly next to it, you see the figure for the inflation-adjusted development and in the local currency. This is, I guess, also important to stress out that this can sometimes differ. And it's also important to keep in mind that this is lowering the already low development or the slightly decrease of 1.5% in nominal terms in 2024 on average here for the top 10 home improvement markets. If you add inflation, but based on the national currency, you had a decrease on average of minus 2.7%. Maybe just go through some of the bigger markets. You see here China, as I already mentioned, had an extreme decrease. Germany also was in the red with a decrease of minus 2.5% in inflation-adjusted terms by even 5%. In Canada, as the fourth biggest home improvement market, we had a decrease of 4.3% in nominal terms and on euro basis, and with a inflation-adjusted decrease of minus 4.9%. In Japan, you can see that there is a difference, a bigger difference between the calculation in euro terms, where we had an increase of 1.9%. But if you do the calculation based on the inflation adjusted figures and in local currency, you had an increase of 7.2%. For France, you see minus 3.9% and minus 6.2%. And also one important thing for UK, the reason why there is such a big plus is a little bit of a statistical phenomenon, because the Star Group, which we are also having as in the report as part of the home improvement market, started there in 2023 and now had a big increase in their figures, and they are pushing up the market a lot. Without this effect, we would also have seen a development in the UK around just the zero line. Okay, I will not go through all the other markets, but I guess the main important thing that is going to stick is that we have a minus development of 1.5% in euro terms for the 10 biggest markets. And if you add inflation and the local currency, you had an even bigger decrease of the market. I stress this out because if you go on then to another specific region, in this case, Asia Pacific, it's the other way around. You see here the development for Asia Pacific for 2024, and you see that more countries were in the plus region, especially like, for example, as I already mentioned, Japan as one of the bigger markets, but also especially other markets like Indonesia, Malaysia, Taiwan, for example, where we also have figures. And it has to be noted that if you not only look at countries like where in North America or in Europe, you had a way better development in emerging markets, for example, like Indonesia, Malaysia, and so on. And for these countries shown here, you have an increase by 1.2% in nominal terms and on euro basis, and in local currency and inflation adjusted even of 2.9%. So there was a slightly higher growth in the Asia Pacific region and in the development countries as compared, for example, to Europe or North America, especially if you add inflation. Yeah, I guess that's something important to keep in mind for the development of 2024. Going on to away from the different countries and its national markets to the top 10 home improvement retailers worldwide. What you see here are the developments of them in 2024, also on euro basis. In the report itself, you will find the top 20 groups worldwide. You will later see an example of it, also with their real figures. Here is only shown the developments. What you can see is that the biggest retailer worldwide, Home Depot, had a increase of 4.4% in 2024, and the sharpest decrease happened to the Groupe ADEO in 2024. The reason was that they sold its business in Russia, and so this is pushing them down extremely. We have to see what the business looks like now for the figures in 2025, when this statistical special effect is not taking place anymore. If one sums it up, one have to say that if you exclude the special effect for the Groupe ADO, and you have to keep in mind that Stark is mainly working in the area of construction material retail. All the other players were slightly in the plus region or slightly in the minus region. The exemptions were Home Depot and Lowe's with 2 directions. Home Depot was having the biggest and strongest plus development, while Lowe's had the biggest negative development in 2024. Also, one of the charts you can see on the right side of your screen is the market share between the top 20 groups worldwide, and you see that Home Depot is really dominating the world market. And second is then Lowe's with also a big portion, and then all the other players, the European players especially, but not only, also from Australia, the Wesfarmers Group with Bunnings. They are way smaller compared to the 2 biggest retailers in North America, in the United States. Now I'm getting to a point where I want to explain to you how we survey the unknown market, because the report is split up between what we know about the market, what I have shown you so far, which is based on verifiable figures, known figures, based on the different sources for sure, but every time it's verifiable. So every figure is going back to one distribution line. The report also includes a calculated market figure for the home improvement market. And here I want to show you and explain to you how it works. On the left side, you see the starting point from us, because we start with what we know about the sales figures for the German market, a market we have been covering now for several decades and know really well. And we use this as the model market. We take the sales figures for the DIY retailers, so the big box retailers, but also the smaller ones. It's starting at the top of Bauhaus at 4.5 billion euro in Germany, and going down the list to smaller retailers with something around 20 million. And all of them between, we have the sales figures in our statistics. Then we add the figures for the building material retailers. Fortunately, we can get the figures or use the figures from the German National Association for the building material retailers, which is the BDB BFH. And then we also use the figures we have about the home furnishing stores. We say home furnishing with a DIY character. So for example, no IKEA or something, but retailers where you can buy furnishing products that you can adapt yourself in a DIY way. That's when we also include it. And all of these figures together are for us the verifiable market figure for Germany. On the right side of your screen, you see that this figure accounts right now for 2024 to 35.764 billion in Germany. So this is where we start. This is like the empirical level. And then we have to and then the calculation starts. And just to make it a little bit understandable for you, we have to take into account that there is a gap for all the cooperatives between the centrally invoiced and the external sales. So that is being coped. Then we also have to add some figures that are not included in the BDB BFH figures, so from the association. And we add another bigger chunk, which is just a calculation on a percentage basis for the unknown other channels. So for example, supermarkets, small independent retailers, and so on. And then we end up with a figure for the calculated German market size. But this is calculated, very important. And this is for 2024, this amounts to 69.6 billion in 2024. So, and with this figure, we then move on, and you see it on the left, we have the calculated German market figure, and we use this figure to get an index value based on the GDP, inflation, and the Human Development Index for Germany in that case. And at the end of it, we have this index value for the years 2024 back to 2019. And then based on this again, we go the other way around and use the GDP, the inflation, and the Human Development Index based on open accessible information from the United Nations or the International Monetary Fund. And then we have a calculated market figure in billion for every single market worldwide. I hope if there are any questions at the end, be free to ask. This is the way it works, and I hope it's understandable. What I have to stress out at this point is that we not only did that we not only do pure guessing when we do these calculations. For the German market, we worked closely together with other market analysts who know the market also well, and work on that figure for the German market. And then we also had a close collaboration in the last years with representatives also, not only, but also from ITRA, from the European DIY Retail Association. And we are being told that, for example, for countries like in France and in France, this is doing well with the figures, for example, for Leroy Merlin or other retailers, and also for other countries also that are not only in Europe, but also like in Vietnam or in Brazil. We were speaking with market analysts whether this figure works well. And we've been told that this is in the market share that's being shown in the report working quite well with their own figures. So, and this is then now all together the three different categories that we use. So we have the DIY market. This is a sub portion of the home improvement market. We have the home improvement market, and then we have the calculated home improvement market. Keep in mind, calculated home improvement market means it's calculated, as I stressed it out, and the home improvement market and the DIY market are always based on the figures we have for the different distribution lines. And to make clear about the separation between DIY and home improvement, we include a retailer as a home improvement retailer if 50% of its sales in home improvement product range, if its total sales consists of at least 50% of sales in home improvement product range. And we use here as the basis Home Depot as the market leader. Second is the garden range has to account for less than 50% of sales. Otherwise, it's not for us as statistical analysis being part of the home improvement market is then something different. And as I said, the furnishing stores must have DIY character. And the subsection of it, the DIY market, has something then special. The retailers must have at least 50% with the product range of only Home Depot, and the assortment must cover two categories of hardware, hand tools or power tools, and building materials account for less than 50% of sales. That's how we allocate the different distribution lines between home improvement and the DIY market. Going on now, after I explained to you how we do the calculated figures, here we can see one of the, I would say, really big improvements. in 2025 now. On the left, you see the figures for the top calculated home improvement market worldwide in billion euro. And on the right side, you see it in 2024. We did a lot of work with these figures to make it more in line with the real market developments. And we have, as I said, had close discussions with people from ITRA and other market analysts who know their figures really well. And at the end of this whole discussion process, we decided to change the calculations in that way that lower human development index is now changing the calculations in the direction that a higher calculated home improvement market is the effect. You can see it here that on the right side for 2024, which means that the figures were for 2023 in the respective country. So for Germany, for example, you had 65.6 billion, and on the left you have it then for the year 2024 in the new report, where you have Germany with 69.6 billion. So the change is not big compared to the model market, especially if you keep in mind that there had also been a development taking place in the nominal GDP of Germany. But there has been a big change if you look at it, for example, what is the market leader on calculated basis. On the right side, you see it has been United States with a calculated market of 350 billion, and now it's China by far with 612. Also, the third biggest market is now India on calculated basis with 223 billion, Japan, Brazil, and so on. It has been a change. At the end, I can say that the response we have been getting from the report also, if you will see it later, that this figure is now the base for the showing of the market share of the different retailers in the national markets. It's way more fitting in line with what the market really is. And so far, what we have heard is that it is doing good. Also, something new and an improvement in the new edition of the report is that we have the national markets also now shown in a local currency. I've shown to you before in Japan, if you have a development seen on a euro basis, you had a development of only 1.9%. If you see it on a national currency level, you have a development of 9.9%, so which is a big difference. This is for all the other of these 60 national markets that we show in detail, where around 20 of them use foreign currencies, and we show all the figures now also additionally in the local currency. Here you see some sample pages that you just have an idea of what the report is about. We have 60 countries shown in detail like this, or additionally with also the foreign currency. Here in Germany, as we have euro, we have no foreign currency compared to euro. But on the main page, you always see the figures for the national market with the different parts of the DIY market, the home improvement market, and the calculated market. This is the circle on the left. Then you see the percentage of the worldwide market. Then you see the development for the different markets in the country. So for the DIY, the home improvement market, also for the inflation and for the GDP. And on the lower part, you see the long time development between 2019 and 24 with the real figures, also the expenditure per capita and some additional background information about the country. On the second page, you will always find the top 5 DIY retailers in comparison. So market share based on this calculated figure, the top 5 year-on-year development, the average size of stores, the average turnover of stores, and so on. And then there's the third page, which is for many, I guess, the also most interesting, where you see all the different distribution lines to retailers as we are covering them in the report, and which are also then included like this in the calculation. And I already stressed it out, but I want to repeat it on the right side of the table. You see that every single figure is being published with its source. So you can see whether the source is the company information, whether it's press, or whether it's an own estimation based on reliable figures by Dähne. Also, as a sample, you see here the example of Kingfisher as one of the top 20 retail groups worldwide. We always also have the long time development in euro, and if possible, also international currency of the mother market, or of the where the headquarter is sitting. You see the development of the global market share, and you see all of the distribution lines in the single national markets, also lined up with the figures, sales figures, the store size, and so the average store size, and the turnover, for example, per square meter. Last point in my presentation is I want to show you the benefits that you get when you also think about buying and using the home improvement retailers directory or data folder. As I already said, we have the whole package, so no statistical restrictions for what's included or not. And besides the 101 countries that are included, we also have more than 1,360 management positions. I will show it later to you for the different retailers. We also have a network of correspondents behind it, which is very valuable, for example, also for the Southeast Asia region. And we have additional information about the report, additional information to compare to the report that's included in the retailers folder. And most importantly, for how you can use it, we also publish all the information, the economical year, the addresses, and the management positions in editable and researchable Excel files. Here one example, for example, for Leroy Merlin in France, you see here at the top the addresses and also the management positions. You see when the management position has been last updated, which is important for how reliable it is, and also additional information on the lower part about other distribution lines worked by the parent company, and background information, and so on. On the right side, you see it, for example, for Mr. DIY in Malaysia, some of the strongly growing retailers from Southeast Asia, who is now also present in Europe. Also interesting. And this is what you get if you also have interest in the data folder. So my last chart. I hope that you got an overview about what's included in the home improvement report and also the data folder, how you can possibly use it for your own business, how to especially maybe develop it and oversee, and also keep track of your competitors. If you're interested in, here you can see where you can buy it. You can buy it from Dähne Publishing, from DIYinternational.com/report, or for the folder DIYinternational.com/retailers. And if you're interested, you can also buy it as a package for 1,400 euro. And again, important, if you are a member of HEMA or a member of ITRA-GIN, please get in contact with your national association, respectively with ITRA-GIN, as a way to purchase it there. Thank you very much. And I hope you have some questions about the two products.
So thank you, Michael, for this very deep dive into the home improvement report and predominantly into the methods, how the statistical data are found and are worked with. So have a look on our question and answers section, but there's just one question coming from Stanislas Baudry. And I do not really know to what it refers, because he said that some figures would not match with other figures. Perhaps, Stanislav, you would like to send your question a bit more precisely? If so, we could answer to it. So for the moment, there's no other question. Yes, as I know, that to Michael, it means a lot to be very clear when it comes to the method and when it comes to really reliable figures. So that's why this webinar was one of the could help you a lot to estimate how it's worked out. So far I cannot see any more questions. I would like to finish the webinar. Thanks for joining us and for participating. As I said in my introduction, you will be able to download the presentation, to watch the video once more, and of course to purchase the report. And you'll find all this at DIYinternational.com/report-2025-webinar. There's our friend Thierry Koman from Belgium asked one more question. How did you manage to distill B2C sales from B2B? For example, within the stock company.
We don't. That's one of the problems we are dealing with, because we are not collecting data based on the allocation between B2B and B2C. We are collecting data based on the retailers and take their whole sales, and we do an allocation between whether it's part of the home improvement market as a whole. So a question arises: is 50% of their sales being done in the home improvement assortment? But we do not separate, for example, if this is true, we do not separate between B2C and B2B. And as somebody who is every year trying to collect all these hundreds of figures and sales figures together, I can just tell you that I think this would be really also difficult to not do it on your calculated basis for a national market, because you have different definitions between the retailers, sometimes between B2C and B2B, what they consider B2B or B2C, and so you have different levels. And the second problem you have to deal with is that you would have to get the figures, because it's even difficult enough to get the figures from the companies about their whole turnover and their turnover based on in which country they're doing it. And if you would try to add the level of separation between B2C and B2B, I guess this is right now at the moment, this would be too difficult, to be honest. But if you, for example, have information about somebody who is doing this for any European country, or even just a single market, it would be very interesting to know for us.
Yeah, I hope, Thierry, it helps you. If not, you have our contact data, and you'll find our contact data as well on the webinars webpage, diabainternational.com/report-2025-webinar. So once more, thanks a lot for being with us, for joining us. Thanks a lot to Michael for explaining the report and the construction of the report. And if there are any more questions, please feel free to contact us. So thanks a lot and bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.